It's 1993, and I'm 17 years old, and all my dreams are coming true. I'm accepted to NYU. I put my volatile childhood behind me, and I moved from Philadelphia to Manhattan, determined to become a Broadway star. I receive a piece of advice from a veteran New Yorker. They say, in New York City, be like an exclamation point, not like a question mark. I take this advice to heart, and I set forth on my journey with excitement and enthusiasm and without doubt. And it's not long before it begins to pay off. I'm cast in one of the most esteemed play festivals in the country. I film a short film in Amsterdam, and I'm having meetings with agents and casting directors and managers, and I am on my way. And it wasn't just my acting career that was going well. I met and fell in love with Connor. He was the most amazing drummer in an up-and-coming indie rock band called Sea Spray. I moved in with him 3 weeks after meeting him, and I took only with me what I could fit in the trunk of a taxi, because who needed things when you had love like ours? And we lived in bliss for a year, and then his career really started to take off while mine stalled. He was on tour all the time, and I took his absence hard. He was my main emotional support. I was estranged from my family. None of my opportunities had led me anywhere near Broadway. It got to the point where I could barely get out of bed. But then, just when I thought all was lost, I was cast as the star in a reality television show, and the executive producers were Madonna and Oprah. My life was being filmed and broadcast 24 hours a day live. I was dedicated to delivering compelling television. I stood on street corners and I preached about defeating evil political agenda. I pushed a shopping cart filled with trash that I had collected all around the city. And with this trash, I was going to build a huge art installation called Hoot Hoot, Don't Pollute. And I remember, exhausted from the constant filming and having to be on for the cameras all the time, lying down in the middle of a heavily trafficked intersection, crying out to the director, "Cut, I can't take it anymore." Because see, I wasn't on a reality show. I was in the middle of a bipolar manic episode, and the show was a figment of my psychosis. Connor, my boyfriend, came home from the road. He had found me having lost my job, run out of money, and we were being evicted from our apartment because I had stopped paying the rent. He said, "Erica, you have lost the plot." And he broke up with me. Having nowhere else to go, I ended up in the most dreaded place of all, back at my parents' house, where they called me a faker, accused me of bringing on this all onto myself. I didn't understand why the producers were doing this to me. But then, again, just when I thought all was lost, I reached out to an old friend living in Los Angeles, and she invited me to come stay with her and get back up on my feet. From all the way across the country, she didn't realize the extent of my mental disarray. So I flew from New York City to LA, still expecting the red carpet to be waiting for me. Not long after my arrival, my mood became more agitated, my mind confused. I longed for Connor. I didn't understand the producer's goal. And one night, my friend came home from work and found me, having taken a fistful of tranquilizers and washed it down with a bottle of red wine. And I was crying that I wanted to die. She rushed me to the hospital, where I was committed for 2 weeks. A social worker helped arrange for me to move to a recovery home for the homeless with mental illness. It was called the Harbor. At the Harbor, we had social workers and a psychiatrist who helped us learn about our medications, and we had outings to Hollywood Boulevard and to movies and the malls, and we had chores like having to cook for all the residents. This one night, it was my turn to cook, and I was feeling very depressed because let me tell you, it is very depressing finding out you're not famous. But I started thinking about the feasts I used to make back in New York for my bohemian friends, and feeling nostalgic, I took to the kitchen, I flipped on the radio, I danced and sang about to the oldies as I diced and I chopped, and the garlic sizzled in the pan, and the peppers and eggplant roasted to perfection in the oven. I was making penne della casa, penne of the house, a dish I had learned to make at the cafe where I had worked for 8 years before my mind began to unravel. I finished cooking just as the dinner bell rang. I set the food out on the table, and all the residents and myself took our seats. But without the activity of cooking, my mood sunk, and I looked around at all these strangers, and I longed for my old life, for my friends who were having career success, getting married, having babies, while I was here, all alone, and mental illness felt like a death sentence. And then I heard someone clear their throat, and I looked up and I saw it was Gary. Gary had been chronically homeless and had a form of schizophrenia, and he announced, "Erica, this is like a 5-star hotel meal. Thank you." Gary's reaction was an awakening. I had been so focused on what I had lost. I was blind to what I had found, a new community and a second chance. I spent over 2 years in recovery homes till I set out on my own to gradually rebuild my life, which I did. I became an educator, teaching reading and writing to elementary school children. And when I walk down the hallways and my students call out, "Hi, Miss Erica, hi, Miss Erica," like I'm some kind of star, and bound into my classroom, so eager to learn. Sure, I'm not the type of star I had imagined all those years ago. It's taken another form, one for which I am truly grateful to help guide them, a privilege as they find their voices and develop their purpose in this life. When I worry that I'll have another breakdown, I remember the harbor and how it helped me learn how to navigate in and out of my bipolar illness. I remember how it instilled an optimism within me, a rebellion against darkness, and the resolve to rejoice in my recovery. Thank you.